Good morning. How are you? Welcome to the show. So today I haven't recorded in a while. I've been very busy moving house and working 7 days a week, and also maintaining a relationship and looking after a dog. And I've been pretty big on TikTok lately. Been loving TikTok. Not loving it, but just really committed to it. It's because it gives that instant response. Like you can have 500,000 views on a video there, and you didn't even do anything spectacular regarding marketing with the thumbnails. Obviously, there is some computer-generated bots with TikTok, and the algorithm is designed to give you more views, so that you do feel more addicted to it, more dopamine rush. Fuck. Yeah, I gotta get this microphone situation sorted. Because I've got my father living with me at the moment. He's in the guest room. That's normally the room I'll be using to create our podcast. I say our podcast because the thoughts that are thrust into my cranium is from you. It's from my experiences with the community, with talking to strangers and old friends in public and online. And so I don't like it when people get too egotistical and claim too much credit for themselves, because everyone has a gift, right? And if your gift is seeing pattern recognition and social engineering exercises that have been taking place in society, then it's really hard, because it's something you use every day and use it in all aspects of life. It's you start to take it for granted and think it's second nature. You forget other people don't think like that. I mean, some people are really, really gifted with craftsmanship. They can just make the world's most beautiful table that tells a story. They spent years crafting all the beautiful legs and the designs and the angles that just tell a story of someone's soul. And that can just really light up a room for centuries to come. And that can just inspire thousands of conversations and create the birth of children and wonderful meals that just makes life worth living. So it's everyone has a craft, and mine is pattern recognition and social commentary, and so it's really hard to just forget that other people don't see the world you do. And actually, one of my most popular videos on Instagram lately is an old video I made saying that it's not right to get mad at people if they haven't got the same knowledge on the subject of your expertise, because it's like yelling at a child for spilling a glass of milk if they're really young and there's an accident. It's not like they did it vindictively, the intention to purposely ruin your day so that you get upset and they get a little dopamine rush. I mean, maybe some children do that, but I'm sure, some of them are innocent. So yeah, but sometimes I'm pretty sloppy. I'll be the first to admit. I'll upload videos just because I know the whole system is pretty rigged. You can just post a video, you don't know what the public likes. So yes, I will admit I do post some pretty sloppy videos, but I wouldn't be like that if I had more time to do it, because I'm usually doing it on my break at work when I'm there's a million thoughts at once, and maybe I'm thirsty, maybe I haven't eaten properly that day, haven't exercised, haven't done any deep breathing. So it's pretty rough, and I do know, because of TikTok, the style is that you're always reaching a new audience, and you can kind of get away with just posting heaps of videos and just hoping that some of them resonate with the public, because it is difficult. But obviously, with more experience and just effort and clear mind, you can actually ascertain the quality of a video. But also, it's a little bit of form of desperation. You're just throwing all your seeds out there, just hoping one of them's going to plant a mango tree that provides nutrients for your family. So what's been going on in the world lately? I mean, pretty standard. There's lots of wars and fake UFOs, celebrities. I don't know about Ben Stiller and J-Lo. I'm pretty sure they haven't made a good movie in a decade. And why is it such a big deal if they go to the award ceremony together? And it's the biggest shock was that J-Lo had to console Ben because he was annoyed that he couldn't drink because he's a recovering alcoholic. And to me, it's not really that interesting. They're trying to cling on to the golden days of Hollywood that ship has sailed, my friend. That ship has sailed many years ago. Hollywood has lost its credibility to the general public, and it's usually just children and second generation or first generation immigrants that actually they still go to the movies and do that because they're still trying to fit in. They're still trying to find their scene, assimilate. So one of my first notes I had was learn Russian, you fuckhead. That's just a personal note to me, just because my partner speaks Russian, and obviously Putin and Russia. It's pretty interesting because they're not on the Federal Reserve debt-based currency system. They're on a gold-based currency system, and they actually have much less debt than any other countries, many other superpowers like America, Australia, Canada, England. They're killing it, and also they've got a lot of wealth in their moral fiber because they haven't been oversaturated with Hollywood and American values for so many decades. They still retain some Orthodox Christian values. Hasn't been the radical feminization of the culture. Balance is better, obviously. You don't want too masculine either, but right now we're in obviously a hyper feminine culture where it's all about just being caring and helping the unfortunate, and not a huge focus on order or structure. And also it's just great to learn another language, because obviously when you have another language you can actually think better, because it enables you to, sometimes the English language is incomplete. There is words missing to describe, and also it's just incredible for your memory and just for social skills. When you tell people you speak another language, it does earn you some brownie points, some credibility, and it just shows effort, because we have a lot of time in this world. We've got microwaves, we've got fax machines, we've got telephones, so many things that take away unnecessary labour, and so it gives you time to learn another language. Not to mention there's apps, Duolingo on your phone to help. Taking your phone case off is like riding bareback. Okay, that's just something I've said to myself. Do you ever get mad at your girlfriend after a six-pack and then have to try hard to remember what you were mad at her for in the beginning? Feel sorry for attractive girls as not allowed to talk to them. Okay, so what that means is I just feel sorry for attractive women, because people just assume that they're worried that men just talk to them because they want to put something inside of them, and so they have to put up this wall. But so then what happens is a lot of men now are a lot more soft, and so we will assume that the women are scared. I don't want to be harassed. I'm just trying to relax, and so won't even talk to them at all. Won't even say hello or ever give eye contact, just because a protected class. And if it was someone with not symmetrical features, someone who wasn't very shapely, with curves, or just young, or fertile, then you feel fine talking to them, because you know that they know that you're not a threat, because you're not after them for their access to their body. And people always think that pretty girls have it easy, but they're missing out on chats from taken men, because taken men can't talk to women who are good looking, because the good looking women are probably used to getting hit on, and obviously you don't want to give that impression and upset their day. be tough on your partner. Don't let them overeat prepackaged food. So yeah, I was walking through this plaza in Ipswich today, and I noticed there's actually quite a lot of overweight people around. And I'm thinking some of those people are in relationships, and I'm also thinking that perhaps when they started dating before they got married, that they were not as overweight. But then when you're in a relationship, sometimes people just get caught in the rat race and they just stop to check themselves and be open and honest with their partners. And so I'm thinking it's for both people's benefit in the relationship, be open and honest about their weight if it's getting out of control, because I think since COVID people have found a lot of comfort in food. Obviously they did before, but even more so, because things like cheese and chocolate, they've got a chemical in there that actually simulates the feeling of love and connection. So what you're lacking for in this, society was already antisocial before, but now it's even, it's hyper antisocial. People are finding solace in the comforts of food, which is readily available even on a working class budget. I mean, I spend plenty of time with people who are on welfare, and they can still afford to have all of the Dominoes they want, and cheese and biscuits and crackers and home brand soft drinks and casks of wine and tobacco. Don't let them be rude to servers. So if you're in relationships with someone, you should let them know you're upset if they're rude to servers. I don't really remember why I said this to myself, but obviously you just don't want to be someone that's like, rude to people that are just doing their job. Make a lecture with heaps of evidence on climate change. So, I started off this podcast by talking about how I make sloppy videos, and that's half the reason why I'm not successful, is because I haven't put enough effort into the editing and the thumbnails and structured content, guests, whatever. And so I was thinking one of my first few professional videos, a good subject would be climate change, and just show a pretty neutral perspective on that best I can, because it seems to be mainstream media really hitting it hard since COVID's slowed down. So it's something that's affecting a lot of people's cortisol addiction. That's one of the main things that have been interested lately, is cortisol addiction. People are addicted to the chemical release that fear brings, and so they're looking for their next hit in the form of a threat that actually enables them to live a mediocre life without taking any risks, because they've got that daily dose of fear. It's either Russia, or it's earthquakes, or it's the blacks, or the Jews, or the gays, or the lesbians, or the serial killers all coming to get you, right? So every day, there's North Koreans coming, or the climate change is coming, man, bear, pig, right? So it encourages mediocrity. When you're in fear, it encourages you to not take any chances, and also you want more government, you want more police. And if a lot of good leaders have said in the past that there is a problem in the Western world where there's too many government employees. There's too many people already, but they still want more power. Obviously we know, power is the most addictive drug in the world, and once the government increases their power with something like 9/11, they never let it go. It just keeps growing and ballooning. So it's something you need to be mindful of and get involved in, and not just be distracted by sports and shopping. I like sports and shopping too. I like playing sports, and I do go shopping a lot with my job. But so I'm not saying I'm better than you. Just don't feel like I'm being patronising, because obviously I've got my flaws too. I'm just the crazy one who's got enough guts to talk about it. But I feel like a burning desire to talk about it, like a burning desire, because I've studied other podcasters, and I feel like there's a niche, there's a market missing. There is a definitive need of honest red-blooded male who's like half brawns, half brains, and a little bit of spiritual spice thrust in there for good measure. There's a need for that, and so it's not about me. It's about you. So this is from an Orwell novel that I read on holiday in the Great Barrier Reef. Katya went to recently. The quote is, "Whatever else Dickens may have been, he was not a hole and corner soul saver, the kind of well-meaning idiot who thinks that the world will be perfect if you amend a few bylaws and abolish a few anomalies." So what that means is Dickens was not a socialist. He wasn't thinking he could just come in, slit the throats of a few kings and queens and everything's going to be sunshine and roses and kumbaya. That the system with the, economic system, social system, hierarchy, monarchy, all these issues, you can't just throw a sledgehammer at them. They're centuries, millennia in the making, and they take a lot of careful prods. And history has shown us whenever there's a violent revolution, it never works out. So you have to be systematic and careful about it, because obviously history has shown us that usually a lot of people start off with good intentions, but then they take over radical government. They end up worse than the last just because there's so much tension in the air, and it's just too much power for one person, and they get overwhelmed, and they turn into like an animal instinct of just like, the critical thinking goes off and their ego goes through the roof, and they just constantly have all these yes men around them confirming what they're doing is right because they just want to get a promotion, right? And obviously Charles Dickens was a very important author because he talked about a lot of the atrocities that the working class were facing in England in the Industrial Revolution, which is important because they built this world we have today. Like, we owe our life to our grandparents and great-grandparents because they were just legends. They were absolute legends. Like, they worked 14-hour days. They had nothing but bread and butter. They didn't have things like Xanax and pornography and all those things to just dull their senses. They dealt with it. They were real people. A lot of their children would die at birth. The police were incredibly corrupt. They didn't have dash cams. There's a lot of problems back then. So we owe our life to them. They've set up this illustrious life that we live today. Our biggest problem now is our self-made problems. At what cost? That was a message I sent to myself. At what cost? And knowing myself, I know what that meant. It was about lockdowns and how they were excessive and severe, and there is no excuse saying we didn't know what we were doing, because it went on too long, and no one ever talked about the elephant in the room, which is the main issue with any virus in history has been the person's health at the time. It's not about preventing transmission, it's about improving the immune response of the individuals, and that means vitamin D, no sedentary lifestyle, balanced diet, not excessive carbs and sugars. It means getting to bed early. It means abstaining from drugs and alcohol when you can. It also means having love and connection. It also means abstaining from benevolence and trying to stay away from the dark side, because that does tax you. It does tax you. If you rip people off, if you're going after married women, what that does is it does age you, because evil is a huge tax, 30% tax on evil, and you don't get any tax returns on that. It just comes with instant wrinkles. It comes with decreased energy and increased ego, which also means that you're less critical of yourself and you're going to make more mistakes. It's going to cost you financially and just in life, in experience. Make a satire life coaching subscription video and ask for $400 donation to charity and have to show receipt. So, I'm working 7 days a week in the social work industry, and it's rather taxing just on time and emotions. But it would be nice to eventually get some financial reimbursement for my to develop social commentary and social engineering awareness skills. So, but I don't like sellouts. I don't like people who are obsessed with money. So I was thinking, like, what if a silly idea, or just a crazy idea, is that to make like a satire video, but then see if it actually can turn into something real. Because like I went to the David Goggins conference the other week, and there's a lot of other guest speakers there, and they had a niche skill that they could do, an hour of solid material on, but there wasn't that much in terms of charisma or vocabulary or just excellence in general that it didn't seem as far off to achieve. So I'm thinking perhaps there is a huge market, or there is people yearning for motivational speakers because this is so satisfying, right? And it's a great way to not do anything. You watch these videos, you watch these inspirational videos, and then you sit back down and have another latte. And you're like, you know what? Job's done. And so it's who said this? Someone said this recently, but a lot of people. Oh, it was one of the speakers at the actual David Goggins conference who said that most people ride the dopamine wave of just thinking about doing something without actually doing it. So you can just sit in your mind and say, you know what, one day I'm just gonna watch this David Goggins video, and that's almost the same as going for a run. Or, like people I know, they can just spend decades and decades and decades and decades talking about their film projects and art projects, but never try. And this new medium comes along of social media and YouTube and TikTok and Instagram and Vimeo and Rumble, but they never jump on that bandwagon, they never try. Which is really odd, because the consequences are rather low. Like if you were to fail, like post for a year, once a day, for like 10 minutes at least, and you don't get any form of recognition or for your efforts, then give up then, but still try. Because it's not like, as long as you don't say anything illegal, what's the worst that's going to happen? At least you're going to get a better command for the English language. You're going to be able to know how you present yourself on camera. So there's going to be a lot of skills, and obviously it's not for everyone. Like there is too many podcasters, but just like in the 70s when musicians were gods. Musicians were gods in the 70s. Everyone tried to play guitar, and obviously 90% gave up after a few months because they just didn't have the inclination or the right teacher or the right skills. They realized they were just chasing. It was an illusion, because the breakup of the family unit has been orchestrated for decades, since the 70s. Like you look at the music, it's all just promoting hedonism, Satanism, and there's the constant pursuit of immediate pleasure without responsibility, which responsibility is the only thing that actually brings long-term happiness, is a welcoming responsibility, and then seeing the fruit of your labor actually do its own thing, and you feel proud when you see your offspring achieving without any of your conscious effort. That's fantastic. And that's part of the promotion of divorce, because the family unit is what keeps people out of jail. I mean, this isn't just me hypothesizing and ranting. If you look up the Australian Bureau of Statistics or the American Bureau of Statistics, you'll notice that having a broken home, a single mum household, is the biggest predictor of a child ending up in prison, right? And prison's not good. There's sexual assault happening in prison all the time. It gets unnoticed. People get shanked for $20 in prison. It's not a good place to be. And that's why I've got a problem with baby boomers now, is because they had personal choice. They're the wealthiest generation in history. If you look at the average diet of someone in England in 1930s, they got like weekly groceries, like half a kilo of bacon, 1 knob of butter, and then like loaf of bread, and then like a pack of pasta and a knob of cheese, and that's like their whole diet, and a tin of beans. That's like their whole diet for a family of 4 for a week. So baby boomers are the richest in history, like, and they didn't do anything with it. They lost any kind of higher faith, and they got obsessed with sexuality. They started worshipping false gods, false idols, and then and now they're miserable. They're miserable. They've got so many properties. Like 65% of all wealth in Australia is held by people from the age of 65 and plus, and they're not even working. So they're rich as fuck, and they're miserable. They've still got problems with the drink. So do young people, but statistics show that young generations do drink less. And you probably say, "Oh, I bet you they do more drugs." That may be true. Drugs are just as bad, but you can be smart and do some drugs. Whereas a lot of people who drink, they just ruin their skin. They get such saggy wrinkles really prematurely, and because there's so much chemicals in the alcohol, it ruins like your physique and your skin. It gets floppy. It just looks strange. You see these people that drink a lot, they just got this kind of look, this sunken look, and it's sad, because some people are beautiful and handsome and they look really smart. It's such a shame to pickle themselves constantly. And like in Brisbane in particular, there's so many pretty suburbs with giant houses, but there's not that many amenities, services, cinemas, theatres, recreational activities, churches, spiritual gatherings, dance halls, bowling alleys. There's not enough of these facilities because there's a lack of focus on culture, and because people just think about real estate because it's a safe investment, and they're not thinking about the community, they're thinking about themselves, and they're not taking any chances, any risks. And if you look at history, the only thing that's made society ever progress is taking risks. And it's about thinking about the community as well as yourself. Because if you think about just yourself, you'll end up on a balcony in some modern apartment, obese, drinking so much Sauvignon Blanc, eating shitty cheese, and just complaining about the noise, even though you live 5 k's from the CBD, 3 k's from the CBD, and you get upset because 9 o'clock at night you hear some noise from someone having a dance party downstairs, and then you call the police, and the police come and ruin their fun. Do you ever look around on a train and think, no one here is like me, I'm not suited for this environment? So, I mean, Australia is very multicultural, but don't you think sometimes, like, you just don't belong? You just stand out like a bloody blueberry amongst. You got someone got a blueberry for a thumb, and the rest of their hands are fingers, and you're the blueberry. You see what I mean? Like you're a giant blueberry in someone's hand. You stand out. You're not part of the team. You're a freak, and I feel like that sometimes, and it's not good. It's not good because you're not supposed to be a freak in society. But then again, there isn't much society left. What is society? Society is based from these crappy websites and these crappy shows, these crappy movies. If you look at like the theaters and Netflix, there is no culture left, except for this. The last bit of culture left, which I've seen today in this Ant-Man movie, is the idea of young activism, of reading one journal article about a subject and then being willing to attack the police over something. So like there's this character in this new Ant-Man movie. She lives in San Francisco and she got arrested because she was like pretty aggressively protesting the police who were there to move on the homeless people that live there, right? And the homeless situation is a very, very tender subject, very, very difficult. However, it doesn't do good for anyone to have a group of homeless people in the middle of a CBD. It doesn't do good because that's where all the corruptions are. That's where all the, it's too easy to corrupt people. Like, I worked with people who were homeless and putting them in a nice suburb away from the CBD on their own, where they regularly have nurses and social workers and carers come and visit them, but they have a little income and they have a nice little 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom unit, about 5-10 k's in the CBD, and they do much better. When they're living on the streets in the city, there's so many toxic, crappy little drugs there, and they get pushed, and the culture is there to stay in that rut. And also, there's a lot of people who get paid to make sure these people are in line. So there's obviously people's bread is affected by the removal of homeless people. And so, yeah, basically, there's been a real attack on culture, anything left. Like, I was watching this, I looked up, just Googled, I just DuckDuckGo'd on a browser on the internet, romantic films, right? And this John Wayne film came up called The Quiet Man. It's a fantastic movie, it's beautiful, sensational. It just showed so much culture in Ireland, and this ultra-conservative, but still hilarious and impulsive small town Irish village that had a really big honour system, and that the women's chastity and purity was really, really cherished, and men were expected to be, they would only pursue a woman with the intention of being with her for life, and they didn't overcomplicate it. They didn't watch 100 Hallmark movies and have 15 dating apps to find 5,000 people a day who they can have sex with. It wasn't like a smorgasbord Uber Eats. Like, what should I have today? No, it's not healthy what it's like now. And yeah, I've done personal opinion on this is that, like, I don't like divorce. I don't like divorce unless it's absolutely necessary. Like the woman's an emotional manipulator, or the man's a wife beater, or she's stealing from him, or if he's cheating on her, or she's cheating on him. Maybe, like, get marriage counselling, try once. If they do something bad twice, then out, yeah. But yeah, I'm not a fan. I think they should try and work it out, because there's so many people who are affected by that. Like, and also, it's just not right for a lot of people who are single in their 50s and 60s or 40s. They just end up doing some really twisted things, and it's like, obviously they're still clinging on to the 70s with the rock music, where it's like, you know, women, wine and song, women, wine and song, women, wine and song. That's what life's all about, women, wine and song. But that doesn't actually bring any inner peace or happiness. So it's a real trick to be focused on, especially when you get older, because, like, it just looks sad. And yeah, I understand have your fun too, but not. It should be with the intention of being together, like not getting involved, like threesomes and stuff. That's freaks me out, because, like, sex is, you're supposed to be thinking, damn it, like, this person, oh man, that's got to make such beautiful kids with. Like, I just want so much connection. Like, that's so hot. Like, they'll be out there so funny. They'll be so protective and such a good role model for children. You know, that's what it's what your body is thinking, your biological makeup. You know how there's like instincts behind you. Man, I could go on for hours, but you know what? Yeah.